Story 17. I saw a ghost in Fremantle Prison, terrifying encounter that changed my life. When I was 10 years old, something happened to me that I've carried with me for almost a decade. It's a memory I've never shared with anyone, not my friends, not my family, not even my therapist. Even now, as I prepare to tell you, I feel that familiar knot of fear tightening in my chest. But I need to get this off my chest. It's haunted me for too long. At the time, I lived in Perth, Western Australia, with my mom and stepfather. We had moved there just a year earlier, leaving behind a life I'd rather forget. The move was supposed to be a fresh start, but adjusting to a new place was harder than I thought. New school, new friends, new family, it was a lot for a 10-year-old to process. For the first few months, I felt like an outsider in my own life, like I didn't belong anywhere. But eventually, things started to get better. My new school was kinder than I expected, and I even made a few friends. Life wasn't perfect, but it was better than before. Then, one Tuesday morning, our teacher made an announcement that sent ripples of excitement through the class. We were going on a field trip to Fremantle Prison. Everyone started whispering and buzzing with excitement. Fremantle Prison was one of those places people in Perth talked about with equal parts fascination and fear. It was infamous, a relic of the past with a reputation for being haunted. Our teacher wrote the name on the board and turned to us with a grin. "Fremantle Prison," he said. "It's one of the oldest and most notorious landmarks in Western Australia. We're going to learn all about its history, its architecture, and maybe even its ghosts." The room erupted into chatter. Some kids couldn't wait to go, excited about the spooky stories they might hear. Others made nervous jokes about seeing ghosts or getting locked in a cell by accident. I stayed quiet, my stomach twisting into knots. The idea of walking through a place where people had suffered and died didn't fill me with excitement, it filled me with dread. But I didn't want to be the odd one out, so I smiled and nodded along with my friends. The weeks leading up to the trip were filled with rumors and ghost stories. Kids whispered about prisoners who had died in the cells, about mysterious shadows and disembodied voices. One of my friends claimed her brother had visited the prison and heard footsteps in an empty corridor. I laughed with everyone else, pretending not to be scared. But inside, I couldn't shake the growing sense of unease. The morning of the trip was cold and overcast. The kind of weather that made everything feel heavier, like the world was holding its breath. As we boarded the bus, I sat with my best friend, who was practically bouncing with excitement. She kept talking about all the things she wanted to see, the cells, the gallows, the rumored haunted spots. I nodded along, trying to match her enthusiasm, but my heart wasn't in it. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was going to happen. When we arrived, the prison loomed ahead of us, massive and imposing. Its stone walls were weathered and scarred, and the iron gates looked like they had been ripped out of another century. Even in the daylight, the place felt dark. The air seemed colder as we stepped off the bus, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. The tour guide greeted us at the gates. He was a wiry man with sharp features and a voice that carried like it belonged in an old-time radio drama. "Welcome to Fremantle Prison," he said, his words echoing in the still air. "This is a place of history, of stories, and, some say, of spirits. Are you ready to learn its secrets?" The group murmured excitedly, but I stayed silent, gripping my friend's hand tighter than I realized. She looked at me and smiled, her excitement undimmed. "It's going to be fun," she whispered. I nodded, but my stomach churned.